Hi, my name is Ashley from Sunnymade, and today we are going to talk about basics and blenders. Welcome back. We're on a fabric series, so I wanted to take another step into fabric and what kind of fabric you can find at a quilt store. We have talked about fabric lines, we have talked about pre-cuts, and the next we are finding is basic and blenders. First, let's define what basic and blenders are. When you walk into a quilt store, they will usually have a wall that is full of colored fabric. These are not sorted by fabric lines or by designers or by manufacturers. It's usually a wall that has all the reds together, all the purples together. A lot of times they're in a color rainbow section, and it's just a wall of very simple fabrics that make one color the main focus. And these are actually called basics. And they're simple fabric, they're easy to use, they're a great base to a quilt project. Basics can include solids, so anything that is a solid fabric. Each manufacturer have their own solid line of fabric and can go from a wide range of whites to blacks and every color in between. Then you also have blenders. Blenders are going to actually have a print on them, but it's very subtle, and there's one color that is the main color. If you're looking at a fabric line, a lot of times they will actually create blenders to go with the fabric line. So you'll have the big, beautiful prints and the smaller prints and the stripes, but then they will also bring in like polka dots and geometric shapes and smaller prints. And what this does is bring in a more solid fabric to complement the prints in the fabric line. So if you want to go back to this quilt behind me, some of the basics in this quilt are they have a hexagon type fabric right here. The stripes could be considered a basic, and even these ones with the little stars on them, these all have a main color as their fabric, and it's kind of the focal point of the piece, as opposed to these prints, which is the main print in this fabric line, and it has prints and it's big and bold, and there's lots of color in each of those fabrics in that line. We're going to pause right here in the middle of blenders real quick and remind you we are going to be working on this in a couple of weeks. If you want to follow along, I put a link for the free download of this quilt pattern in the description box below. It's called Sunny Stars. Very fitting, right? Sunnymade, Sunny Stars. It takes place with the layer cake, and in that quilt pattern, you put in your email, it'll get sent to your email list or your email box, and you'll be able to follow along. How can you use basics and blenders? First, if you have found some fabric that you absolutely love and you want to create a quilt around it, but it's a big, bold pattern, it stands out, and it's kind of very busy, a basic or a blender is a great way to pull the colors out of that fabric and make it more solid and make that fabric a focal point. Okay, this is a quilt that I made for my daughter. As you can see, I put a big bold print here in the center of the block that I wanted to draw your eye to. And then I took blenders. These are called Cross Stitch by Allison Glass. And I created the quilt blocks around it. And so it pulls your eye to the center of the quilt blocks and gives the rest of the quilt a big, bold color, but where you're looking at the center of the quilt block. The next thing you can do is if you have several fabrics that go together, but you would like a little more solid in your quilt, you can pull some blenders in that match those colors. And at the quilt store, there will be a wide range of, say you're looking for a red, there'll be all the way from dark red to light red to orangey reds to pinky reds and every color in between. And so a lot of times you can find the exact color you're looking for. Now, another option is to actually make a quilt from blender fabric. And a lot of the modern quilters like to actually use basics or blenders in their quilt line or as the main quilt. And what this allows it to do is to create a big, bold statement in the fabric or in your quilt. And then they use a lot of open space, negative space in your quilt. This next one, these are fabric that is called Thatched. It's by Robin Pickens. And here I used it as the main fabric of my quilt. So this one, I have a lighter blue, a darker blue, and a green, and you put them together with a nice solid background and it creates a beautiful quilt where it looks solid but brings in a little bit of texture into your fabric. Now this last one, this one hung on the wall behind me all last year as I was filming. This is my grunge quilt. So this is grunge fabric put out by Basic Gray. And as you can see, I used it also as the main part of this quilt where I used a monochromatic in the different shades of this teal and then added some complementary colors to create a quilt that it doesn't have huge patterns, but has a beautiful design. Because when I made this quilt, my thought process was I wanted it to be on the design of the quilt as opposed to the fabric in the quilt. And so it came out. I love this quilt. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And so that was my point, is I wanted to complement the design, which is why I went for a blender fabric instead of a pattern fabric. When it comes to a blender, a lot of times manufacturers will release them as a fabric line, where you have a very basic fabric line. It goes through a wide range of colors. There's a small print on each of them. And then they release them like that. They actually have blenders in their catalog and will release just blenders that way. And sometimes when you walk into a quilt store, you will see them as a fabric line. This is a fabric line put out by Ruby Star Society called Starry. As you can see, it has stars on solid fabric. This one has a rainbow coloring. As you can see, there's a couple different prints, stars, letters, there's striped tassels, there's some repeats, but you can still get that blender feel. And then, of course, the other thing that is considered part of the basics is our low volume white on white backgrounds. The other options that they do in order to fill a blender wall is they will pull blender type fabrics from fabric lines when they've gotten rid of all the prints, the large prints, the small prints. They tend to have the blender type fabrics left, and so they'll actually take those and put them on the blender wall, and so then you have a more wide range of colors. There's a couple designers that actually like to put out blenders, so let me give you a few examples. So we looked at this one. This is grunge. there is a wide range of grunge, and they keep replacing grunge. And a lot of times when you walk into a quilt store, it will have a wall of grunge. Now, Robin Pickens, who does the thatched that I used on this, she has thatched available to purchase, but she also likes to put them in her fabric lines. So she'll do a fabric line that has all the big prints. It has small prints. She likes to do flowers and all that. And then she'll add some thatch to it that creates a more solid type fabric that pulls in the colors from her print fabric and bring them into her fabric line. And so she has the ones that matches her fabric lines, and then I think they just get added to her thatched collection. So she has a wide range of thatched. If you have any questions about fabrics, I would love for you to ask them. Just leave them in the comment section below. I hope that I explained it well. Sometimes I get a little problem with words, and so I don't explain things very well. Let me give you a little show and tell of what I'm working on right now. I am doing a sew along with Quilty Love over on Instagram. That's her handle and her pattern name. I made a whole bunch of hearts and I absolutely love them, but I sewed my strips together wrong right now. So I'm in the process of taking out the strips. I was supposed to put this white piece on the bottom of this strip, and the bottom white piece was supposed to be on the top of this strip. So it's not much of a change, but I've had to take apart 5 strips. So this is what I'm doing. You know, mistakes happen. That's how it is. We learn and we grow and we make things better. I was actually finding on my other section that I was putting together, I thought, well, maybe I could leave it. But there was too many reds next to each other, too many of the same prints next to each other. And I'm a little more particular about those things. So we are picking it out. Other than that, please like and subscribe. Liking it helps me get my video out for farther to more quilters. Subscribing helps you to get them a notification when I put out a new video. So find me on Instagram, Ashley_Sunnymaid, and I hope you have a great week. Happy sewing!